My daughter Sarah found me sitting on a folding chair in what used to be my living room, the only piece of furniture left in the house. When she walked through the front door that September afternoon, her face went white. The Persian rug that had been my 40th anniversary gift from her father was gone. The mahogany coffee table, the silk curtains, the painting of Monterey Bay that hung over the fireplace for 20 years, all of it vanished. "Mom?" Her voice cracked. "Where's everything?" I tried to smile, but my hands were shaking. I'd lost 15 pounds in 3 months. My clothes hung off me like I was a coat hanger. "Sarah, sweetheart, I didn't know you were coming. I texted you last week." And called 4 times. She knelt beside my chair, and I could see tears starting in her eyes. "Michael said you were busy, that you'd call me back when you had time." Of course he did. But to understand how I ended up in an empty house at 66 years old, living on crackers and tap water while my son drove a brand new Lexus, I need to take you back to where this nightmare began. Back to the day my golden child came home. It was late May when Michael showed up at my doorstep with 2 suitcases and a sheepish grin. He was 42, my firstborn, the son who'd always been able to talk his way out of anything since he learned to string sentences together. "Mom, I need a place to crash for a few weeks," he said, already walking past me into the house. "Just temporary. You know how it is corporate downsizing. They let go half the department." I did know how it was. This was the 3rd time in 5 years that Michael had been downsized. But what kind of mother turns away her child when he's struggling? "Of course, honey. Your old room is still set up." What I didn't know then was that he'd been fired for falsifying expense reports. Or that his girlfriend Brittany, a 28-year-old Instagram influencer, was the reason he needed money so desperately. I wouldn't learn those details until much later. Those first few weeks were actually nice. Michael helped around the house, cooked dinner, made me laugh with stories about his old coworkers. He'd always been charming, it was his gift. Even as a boy, he could smile, and everyone would forget he'd just broken a window or skipped school. Sarah called every Sunday like she always did. She lived in Portland now, worked as a project manager for an engineering firm. We'd talk about her work, her apartment, her boyfriend David. Solid, dependable Sarah. She'd been the responsible one since she was 12, always doing her homework without being asked, always thinking ahead. "How's Michael doing?" she asked one Sunday in June. "He's doing well. Looking for jobs, helping me around the house." There was a pause. "Mom, how long is he planning to stay?" "Just until he gets back on his feet, honey. You know how tough the job market is right now." Another pause. "Okay. Just be careful, Mom. Remember what happened last time." Last time? Yes. When Michael had borrowed $15,000 to start a business that folded in 6 months, when he'd promised to pay me back and I was still waiting. But that was different. He'd been younger then, less experienced. People deserve second chances. I should have listened to Sarah. It started small. Michael needed gas money for job interviews. Could he borrow my credit card? Of course. He needed a new suit to look professional. The stores had a sale, just $800, and he'd pay me back from his first paycheck. "Sure, honey. Interview after interview," he said. He was so close to landing something big. Then in July, he sat me down at the kitchen table with a serious expression. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important." He took my hand. "I'm worried about you managing all your finances alone. You're not getting any younger, and these accounts are complicated. What if something happened to you? How would anyone access them to pay your bills?" I felt a flutter of anxiety. He was right, I was 66. My husband Robert had handled most of our finances before the heart attack took him 3 years ago. Since then, I'd managed okay. But sometimes the online banking confused me. "What are you suggesting?" "Just add me to your checking account." "Not to use it," he added quickly. "Just so I can help you track things, make sure bills get paid on time. And God forbid, if you got sick or had an accident, I could handle things without legal complications." It made sense. He was my son. He was living here, helping me. Why wouldn't I trust him? We went to the bank the next day. The banker, a young woman with skeptical eyes, had me sign the forms adding Michael as a joint account holder. "Mrs. Chen," she said carefully, "you understand this gives your son full access to withdraw funds or make transfers?" "Yes, that's the point," Michael said smoothly. flashing that smile. Mom's getting older and needs help managing things. I'm just here to support her. The banker looked at me. I nodded. What else could I do? Question my own son in front of a stranger? That account held $47,000, my savings from Robert's life insurance, what remained after I'd paid off the mortgage and helped Michael with his business venture. It wasn't a fortune, but combined with my $2,200 monthly Social Security, it was enough to live comfortably. For about 6 weeks, nothing changed. Then I checked my account balance at the ATM one Tuesday in August. Senwen itsensibai wushimeiyuan. My heart started pounding. I'd withdrawn $200 for groceries the week before. Where had $15,750 gone? When I got home, Michael was in the garage, working on his laptop. Honey, I need to ask you something. Did you use my account for something? There's money missing. He didn't even look up. Oh, that. Yeah. I had to pay some bills that were in collections, from the business bankruptcy. If I didn't pay them, they were going to put a lien on your house. A lien? On my house? Why didn't you tell me? Now he looked up, and his expression was hurt. I didn't want to worry you, Mom. You've been so stressed lately. I handled it. That's what I'm here for. But $15,000. Mom. He stood up, came over, put his hands on my shoulders. Do you trust me? I looked into his eyes. My son. My baby boy who I'd rocked to sleep, who I'd nursed through chickenpox, who'd cried in my arms when his first girlfriend broke his heart. Of course I trust you. Then trust that I'm protecting you. Those creditors would have taken the house. $15,000 is nothing compared to that. I wanted to ask more questions. I wanted to demand to see the bills, the collection notices. But that would mean I didn't trust him, wouldn't it? What kind of mother doesn't trust her own son? That night, I tried to call Sarah. The phone rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. Strange, she usually answered right away when I called. I left a message asking her to call me back. She didn't. I tried again the next day. Same thing, voicemail. On the 3rd day, I asked Michael if he'd heard from his sister. Sarah? He shrugged. Not in a while. You know how she is, Mom. Too busy with her fancy job and her new life in Portland. Some of us actually stayed to take care of family. That stung, but maybe he was right. Sarah had moved away 8 years ago. She called every week, sure, but she wasn't here. Michael was here, helping me, protecting me from creditors I didn't even know I had. The furniture started disappearing in September. I woke up one Saturday morning, and the Persian rug was gone from the living room. The one Robert and I had bought on our trip to Turkey in 1995. The one I'd vacuumed carefully every week for 25 years. Michael, where's the rug? He was making coffee, perfectly calm. Oh, I sold it. It was just collecting dust and probably had mites or whatever. Plus, I got $2,000 for it. I put it toward your account to replace some of the money I had to spend on those bills. But that was my rug. My anniversary gift from your father. Mom, it was just a rug. Dad's been gone for 3 years. You need to let go of the past and focus on practical matters. Would you rather have a dusty old rug or $2,000 in your account? When I checked my account that afternoon, there was no $2,000 deposit. When I asked Michael about it, he said he'd put it in cash in the safe. What safe? We didn't have a safe. But he insisted, got irritated with me, said I was getting forgetful. Maybe I was getting forgetful. I had forgotten to pay the electric bill last month, or had I? Michael had assured me he'd handled it. 2 weeks later, the mahogany coffee table disappeared while I was at my book club. Then the silk curtains, the painting of Monterey Bay. Each time, Michael had an explanation. He was selling them to cover expenses or put money back in my account. Money that never appeared. I tried calling Sarah again. This time, Michael's girlfriend Brittany answered my phone. Hello? Who is this? This is my phone. Oh, Mrs. Chen, it's Brittany. Michael asked me to answer. You were in the bathroom, but I see here Sarah's calling. Want me to answer? Before I could respond, she'd already declined the call. Brittany, please hand me my phone. Oh, of course. She bounded over, all blonde hair and bright smile. When had she moved in? You know, Sarah calls so much. Michael says she's probably feeling guilty for abandoning you and is trying to ease her conscience. Abandoned me? Sarah hadn't abandoned me. She'd moved for work, but she always called, always remembered my birthday, always. But she hadn't been answering my calls, had she? That night, I tried to use my phone to call Sarah again. The battery was dead. When I charged it and turned it on, I had 17 missed calls from her over the past 3 weeks, plus text messages I'd never seen. "Mom, please call me." "Mom, I'm worried. Michael said you don't want to talk to me?" "Mom, what's going on? Why are you ignoring me?" My hands shook as I tried to dial her number, but the phone wouldn't let me. When I looked closer, I realized Michael had enabled parental controls and blocked Sarah's number. I found him in the garage. "Michael, you blocked Sarah's number from my phone?" He spun around, and for just a second, I saw anger flash across his face. Then the mask dropped back into place, the charming smile, the concerned son. "Mom, we talked about this. Remember? Sarah was upsetting you with all her questions about money and accusations about me. You asked me to block her so you could have some peace." "I never." "Yes, you did, Mom." He stepped closer, lowered his voice. "This is exactly what I was worried about. You're forgetting things, important things. Maybe we should get you checked for dementia." "Dementia? No, I wasn't forgetting. I would remember asking him to block my own daughter. I would remember that, wouldn't I?" I started keeping a journal after that, hidden in my bedroom closet, writing down everything that happened each day, every conversation, every time something disappeared. I dated each entry, proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't forgetting. But Michael found it in October. "Mom, what's this?" He held up my notebook, flipping through pages. "You're writing paranoid notes about me? That I'm stealing from you?" His voice rose. "After everything I've done for you? I gave up my whole life to take care of you. I just wanted to keep track." "Of what? Your delusions? Your paranoid fantasies?" He threw the notebook across the room. "You know what? Maybe you do need to be in a facility. If you can't trust your own son, the only person who's actually here for you, then maybe you can't live alone anymore." The threat was clear. If I didn't cooperate, he'd have me declared incompetent and put me in a nursing home. I stopped writing things down after that. By November, the account was down to $8,000. The house was almost empty. Michael had sold the dining room set, the guest bedroom furniture, even Robert's desk. When I protested, he said the money was going toward my care, toward bills, toward keeping the house. But I'd stopped seeing any bills. Michael handled everything now. He'd insisted I sign a power of attorney back in September just in case something happens to you, Mom. We need to be prepared. I'd signed it because he'd worn me down, because I was tired, because some small, treacherous part of me wondered if he was right and I was losing my mind. I tried to go to the bank myself in late November. I thought maybe I could talk to someone, explain what was happening, get help. But when I got there, the same young banker who'd helped us add Michael to the account took one look at me and called him. "Mr. Chen? Your mother is here, and she seems confused. She's trying to access the account but can't remember the PIN." "Yes, I'll wait with her." Michael arrived 20 minutes later with Brittany in tow, all concern and gentle touches. "Mom, what are you doing here? You told me you wanted to rest today. I need to check the account. I need to see." "We can check it at home, Mom. You don't have to come all the way down here." He turned to the banker. "She's been having these episodes, gets confused, forgets conversations. We're taking her to a specialist next week." The banker nodded sympathetically. I tried to protest, but what could I say? That my son was lying? Based on what evidence? He had power of attorney. He was on the account. And I looked like exactly what he was describing, a confused elderly woman who couldn't even remember her PIN. He drove me home in silence. When we got there, he took my purse, pulled out my driver's license and credit cards. "I think it's better if I hold on to these for now. For your safety." I was trapped. I stopped eating much. There was food in the house. Michael made sure to keep groceries for himself and Brittany. But every time I ate, I felt sick with anxiety. How much did this cost? Was this more money disappearing from the account? I started taking smaller and smaller portions, then skipping meals entirely. Michael noticed but didn't seem concerned. "You're looking good, Mom. Losing weight is healthy at your age." I was 66 years old, down to 98 pounds, and fading away in my own house. It was December 15th when Sarah showed up. I was sitting in that folding chair, the only furniture left besides my bed frame, when I heard the front door open. For a second, I thought it was Michael coming back from wherever he'd been. But then I heard her voice. "Mom? Oh my God, Mom!" Sarah ran across the empty living room and dropped to her knees in front of me. Up close, I could see she'd been crying, probably for a while. Her eyes were red and puffy. "I'm here, sweetheart," I whispered. "I'm so glad you're here. I drove 15 hours straight when I couldn't reach you anymore." Michael's girlfriend posted a picture on Instagram last week. She was wearing a necklace I recognized. "The sapphire one Dad gave you for your 50th birthday. Her voice shook with rage. I knew something was wrong. The necklace he sold, the necklace? "Mom, I need you to tell me everything, right now, before he gets back. Everything." So I told her. All of it, while she recorded on her phone. The joint account, the missing money, the furniture, the power of attorney, the blocked phone calls, how I'd tried to go to the bank and been dismissed as confused, how I'd stopped eating because I was afraid, how I'd been trapped in this house for months with no way out. Sarah's face went from shock to fury to something colder, harder. When I finished, she made 3 phone calls. The first was to a lawyer. The second was to Adult Protective Services. The third was to the police. Then she went to the kitchen and started making me soup. Real soup, with vegetables and chicken. She sat with me while I ate, holding my hand, crying silently. "I should have known," she kept saying. "I should have come sooner. I'm so sorry, Mom. You couldn't have known. I didn't even want to believe it myself. But I knew what he was like. Remember when he stole money from my piggy bank when we were kids? When he totaled my car and blamed it on me? I knew. And I still let this happen. Sarah, listen to me." I squeezed her hand. "This is not your fault. This is his choice. His actions. You couldn't have prevented this." Michael came home 2 hours later with Brittany, laughing about something. They stopped dead when they saw Sarah sitting in the living room with me. "What the hell are you doing here?" Michael said. "Taking care of our mother. Something you clearly haven't been doing." Sarah stood up. "How much have you stolen, Michael? 40,000? 50? Stolen?" He laughed, but it sounded forced. "I've been taking care of Mom, managing her money because she can't do it herself anymore. If you actually came around more often instead of hiding in Portland." "I came around." I called. "You blocked my number from her phone. Because you were upsetting her." "No, because I was asking questions you couldn't answer." Sarah pulled out her phone. "I've already called Adult Protective Services. They're sending a social worker tomorrow. I've also called our family lawyer, and we're going to go through every single transaction in Mom's account for the past 6 months." Michael's face went pale. "You can't do that." "I have power of attorney." Had, past tense. A man in a gray suit walked through the front door. Sarah must have left it unlocked. "Mrs. Dorothy Chen?" "I'm Jeffrey Morrison," the attorney Miss Chen contacted. "I have emergency revocation papers for you to sign. Removing your son's power of attorney effective immediately." "You can't, Mom. Don't listen to them." Michael's voice was rising, panicked now. "They're turning you against me, after everything I've done for you." "Everything you've done to her, you mean?" Sarah said coldly. "We found the receipts, Michael. Or most of them, anyway. You know what we didn't find? Any bills from creditors threatening to put a lien on the house? Because there were none. You made that up." "That's not. We found receipts for a Lexus. For jewelry. For a down payment on an apartment downtown. Is that where you and Brittany were planning to move once you'd bled Mom dry?" Brittany had gone white. She grabbed her purse. "I didn't know about any of this, I swear." Michael said his mom was helping him. "Shut up, Brittany." But she was already backing toward the door. "I can't be part of this. This is fraud or something. I'm leaving." And she did. Just walked out, leaving Michael standing there alone. That's when the neighbors started arriving. Mrs. Patterson from next door, the Johnsons from across the street, even old Mr. Wong, who rarely left his house. They'd seen Sarah's car, seen the strange man in a suit, sensed drama. They gathered in the empty living room, these people who'd known me for 20 years and saw me for the first time in months. Saw how thin I was, how empty my house was, how Michael was standing there red-faced and furious, while Sarah showed the lawyer her phone, which displayed bank statements and receipts. "Mrs. Chen," Mr. Morrison said, "you need to sign here to revoke the power of attorney, and here to remove your son from your bank account." I looked at Michael, my firstborn, my golden child, the boy I'd protected and defended and made excuses for his entire life. "Mom, please," he said, and his voice broke. "Don't do this. I'm your son. I love you. If you loved me," I said quietly, "you wouldn't have let me starve. You wouldn't have sold my husband's desk, my anniversary rug, my birthday necklace. You wouldn't have isolated me from your sister. I was protecting you." "No." I picked up the pen. "You were using me." I signed the papers. Michael lunged forward, but Mr. Morrison stepped between us. "Mr. Chen, I strongly advise you to leave now. The police are already on their way." "The police?" Michael's voice went shrill. "For what?" "Managing my mother's money? She gave me permission." "For financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult," Sarah said. "For fraud, for theft, take your pick." That's when he said it. The thing that made even the neighbors gasp. Michael spun to face them all. Mrs. Patterson, the Johnsons, Mr. Wong, and shouted, "Mom wanted me to have everything. She told me to sell her stuff. She said I deserved it for taking care of her. I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who sacrificed. Sarah ran away to Portland and abandoned her." The silence that followed was absolute. Then Mrs. Patterson spoke up. "Young man, I've lived next to your mother for 18 years. I watched you come and go over the years. Watched you borrow money and never pay it back. Watched you break her heart a dozen times. And these past few months, I watched her fade away while you drove around in a fancy new car. Don't you dare stand in her house and claim you sacrificed anything. This is none of your business." "You made it our business when you yelled it in front of the whole neighborhood," Mr. Johnson said. "We all heard what you just admitted to." The police arrived 10 minutes later. Sarah had already emailed them the bank statements showing $52,000 in withdrawals over 6 months, along with receipts showing Michael had spent it on a car, jewelry, an apartment deposit, designer clothes, and expensive dinners. They arrested him right there in my living room. "This is bullshit," he screamed as they handcuffed him. "She's my mother. I was helping her. You can't do this." But they could, and they did. Sarah moved in that night. Over the next few weeks, she worked with Mr. Morrison to recover what money could be recovered. The Lexus was repossessed. Michael had only made one payment on it. The apartment downtown fell through when the landlord learned about the arrest. We got back about $18,000, nowhere near what he'd taken, but something. More importantly, Sarah got me back. She took me to doctors who were horrified at my weight loss and vitamin deficiencies. She helped me eat again, slowly rebuilding my strength. She took a leave of absence from her job in Portland to stay with me through the legal proceedings. Michael was charged with financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult and fraud. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges and got 2 years probation, plus an order to pay restitution. He never paid a cent. Last I heard, he'd moved to Nevada and blocked our numbers. I don't think about him much anymore. That probably sounds cold, but the truth is, I spent 42 years making excuses for Michael, believing the best of him, hoping he'd change. The person I thought I was protecting never really existed. He was always this person, I just couldn't see it. Sarah's still in Portland, but she calls every day now, sometimes twice, and I always answer. I'm 71 now. The house has furniture again, nothing fancy, but it's comfortable. I've gained back the weight, and then some. I garden, go to book club, volunteer at the library, and I never ever give anyone access to my bank account. Sometimes people ask if I regret having Michael, if I wish I'd done things differently. The truth is complicated. I don't regret Sarah, she saved my life. And the Michael I thought I had, the son I imagined I was raising, I don't regret him either. But the real Michael, the one who let his mother starve while he bought his girlfriend jewelry, I don't have a son named Michael anymore. I have Sarah, and some days, one good daughter is worth more than all the golden children in the world.